Hello, and welcome back to our celebration of World Food Safety Day. Safe food now for a healthy tomorrow. We are excited to continue the conversation on food safety and its importance in public health. For those of you who are tuning in live, we hope that if you have questions, you'll enter them into the comments section. We will do our best to address as many questions as we can. I'd like to introduce you to Jessica Collado. Jessica has worked as an environmental health specialist for Contra Costa County Environmental Health Division in California since November of 2015. In addition to food safety and recreational swimming pool and spa inspections, she focuses on temporary food establishments, mobile food facilities, and foodborne illness outbreak investigations. She enjoys community outreach and providing food safety courses for local retail food facilities and nonprofit organizations. She is a certified professional food manager, instructor, and proctor for the local adult education school. Jessica serves as a member of the Contra Costa Health Services Emergency Management Team and is involved in local environmental health emergency planning and preparedness efforts. She is currently working as an outbreak support and surveillance lead for the Congregate Facility Outbreak Team under the Contra Costa Public Health Case and Contact Tracing Branch in response to COVID-19. Previously, she worked as an environmental health scientist for the geotechnical and environmental engineering consulting firm and in environmental policy compliance for the State Water Resources Control Board. Jessica earned her MS in Environmental Management from the University of San Francisco with a concentration in environmental health and has received her Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science and Management from the University of California, Davis. Jessica, welcome, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Laura, for the introduction, and happy World Food Safety Day, everyone.
Yes, happy World Food Safety Day. So we're excited to dive into what food safety looks like in your world. So tell me, Jessica, what is it like to be you? What does an average day look like for a retail food safety inspector in California?
Yeah, so I'll start off with describing Contra Costa County. So it's a bit of a large county with a population of about 1 million people, and we're located in Northern California, across the bay from San Francisco. So what we do is we have an assigned inspector for certain districts or areas within the county. And so an average day varies. It varies quite a bit between different inspectors, depending on whether you're involved in a program or a project, or if some districts are more densely populated, and so they're more densely populated, and so they require a lot more time in the field, whereas projects require, it's more administrative work in the office. So usually, for the most part, our inspectors, we start our mornings in the office and we prepare for our day. So we prepare our equipment, stock up on handouts or forms, and we'll review previous inspection reports. And for those that are involved in programs, we'll spend our mornings doing that. So, for example, I'm part of the temporary events, to temporary food establishment program. And so I'll spend my mornings reviewing permit applications for nonprofit organizations that are going to have events with food. And then also I was part of the mobile food program. And so I'd review new permit applications and plans for new food trucks. So our mornings are, it varies in how much office time you have. And so finally, if I do get to go out in the field to do an inspection, so our inspectors are standardized. We're all standardized to do risk-based food inspections. And so this means that we're identifying and assessing the control of critical risk factors that lead to foodborne illnesses. So that's the type of inspections that we do on site. If after we complete our inspections, we then we type up an electronic report at the restaurant or on site, and we'll review it with the person in charge. So any critical or major violations that occurred during our inspection, we're very hands-on, and we use that opportunity to correct any major violations during the inspection. So Contra Costa uses a color-coded placarding system to report the results of our inspections. So we have a green, yellow, and red placard. So it would be a pass, conditional pass, or closure. And it represents the results of our inspection. So we'll post that after inspection. We'll post that in the front window of the facility.
Oh, wow.
That's mostly what we do. Over the summer, our food inspectors are also inspecting recreational swimming pools and spas. And so our summer daily schedule consists of both food facilities and swimming pools.
Wow. Well, the life of an environmental health specialist is never boring. That's to say the least. It seems like if you're not working on a project, you're in the field. If you're not in a food establishment, you're at a recreational water facility. So that's great. You said you did inspect some of these different types of recreational or retail facilities. Are there any that are unique to your area? Do you have like a large amount of temporary events or anything like that?
Yeah, so like I was saying, Contra Costa is very large, so it extends from the coastline where it's densely populated inland to about 60 miles, where it's very large agricultural areas. So it's very diverse in population and geographically. So we have a lot of different types of facilities and unique situations. We do have aside from the regular restaurant retail inspections, we have cottage food operations, which is people that are allowed to cook at home, and then or prepare foods at home. And then we have a lot of temporary events throughout the year. We have food trucks, mobile food trucks, and one of the things that's becoming more popular are food truck gatherings, and where you have several, it's like an event where you only have food trucks, and that's definitely become more popular. Unique situations also. Ever since California legalized recreational cannabis, we've run into that situation where that's being introduced right into food, and that's not allowed. Or CBD is not allowed in food, and so we've had to build guidelines, and that's just something that's been coming up more frequently when we're out doing inspections. Let's see. Those are for the most part. We have for our retail food facilities, we categorize them as RC 1, 2, and 3. And so our RC 1s, they're inspected once a year, and they consist more of they're prepackaged dry foods. And those are like department stores, small gas stations, snack bars. And then we have our RC2s, which are inspected twice a year. And those type of facilities are mostly cook to order fast food restaurants or schools, skilled nursing facilities. And then we have our risk category 3s, which are inspected 3 times a year. And that's because they're more complex. They involve cooking a larger amounts of food and cooling it for use the next day.
Well, it's good to hear that those establishments are frequently visited, and it certainly does seem to take a village to protect the food supply. You have so many different types of facilities that you're working with. You must coordinate with other organizations or agencies to do your work. Would you care to share some of the collaboration and coordination techniques that you use to keep the food safe in your community?
Yeah, so we do work with federal, state, and other local agencies, whether making referrals for any issues that we observe during an inspection, or collaborating together for any ongoing investigations. So for example, you can have if we discover unapproved source of meat or cheese, that's definitely a time where we'd be working with other agencies involved. So you may have let's say an unapproved slaughterhouse in a private ranch, and they may be delivering the meat to a retail food restaurant that's within our county. And if it crosses different counties, let's say, it can get very involved with different agencies. And so we'll work together in with those investigations and sharing information. We are a local agency, so I work closely and dedicate extra time to our nonprofit organizations. They usually host temporary events where it's volunteer based and inexperienced food handlers. And so I offer to set up meetings it's open for everyone, for any food handlers, and do a crash course on the critical risk factors and temporary event our requirements, and anything that'll help them prevent foodborne illness or an outbreak from happening. And I'll also teach them in Spanish for those organizations that are predominantly Hispanic.
That's great. It seems like, just reading your bio and listening to you, education, food safety education specifically is so important. And like you mentioned, these events, sometimes they have volunteer workers and they're not trained food handlers. So it's wonderful that you provide those kinds of trainings and resources. Do you have maybe some kind of information on where other people might get some of these resources that they might be able to use in their own jurisdictions?
Yes, so we do have our website, actually, we have a lot of food safety handouts and resources there available, and in different languages. So that's one location, especially also for unique situations. For example, in the past few years, we've been experiencing a lot of power outages and fires. And so there's helpful handouts for our facilities to use for those kinds of situations. In general, during our inspections, when there's a major violation, we use that opportunity to give we use that as a teaching opportunity for our operators on preventive food safety practices. And sometimes we're hands-on, and I'll grab a bucket and visually show them, because sometimes there's a language barrier, and so you'll get creative and you'll use handouts and point at images, or I'll grab a bucket and show them how to properly set up a sanitizer bucket with the correct concentrations, and use my finger and point at the concentrations for the test strips. And so another thing, our inspectors, not just me, but other inspectors participate in teaching food safety refresher classes for our operators whenever they receive 2 consecutive yellow placards. Or we'll have inspectors that also teach the managers food safety at the local community college or at adult schools throughout the county. So our website really has a lot of resources. Feel free to check it out, go in there, explore our website, and use that for your own county if it helps.
Great, thanks. It's always good to share resources and best practices, and I just love that you have it in multiple languages. That's so important, especially sometimes we do need to educate with more of an oral culture when we're talking about food safety. So really great. We were talking about these events where they have food trucks and all these food trucks gather, and that kind of made me think of how that might complicate a foodborne illness outbreak investigation. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how Contra Costa works on foodborne illness outbreak investigations. How do you handle something like that?
Yeah, so it is very difficult for temporary events to handle foodborne or to trace the source. So our division has a foodborne illness outbreak response team. And we work very closely with our public health communicable disease program. We actually meet on a monthly basis with the epidemiologist, physician, and laboratory director and discuss recent outbreaks or recalls. And so we have that established relationship with them, which is really good because that's who we'll be working with during an actual outbreak. And so we may discover an outbreak through complaints from the general public, or public health will let us know. And so once we hear of a potential outbreak, we'll initiate an investigation, and we have a team for that'll work together. We'll gather as much information as we can before conducting the on-site inspection so that we can focus our inspection on, let's say, a special type of food preparation or specific food or a specific location in the facility. And on site, when we do the inspections, we work together as a team. We'll split up. We'll have some inspectors in the back doing the actual inspection in the kitchen and working with the employees there, asking questions, and then we'll have others working with working with the point of contact, the manager, let's say, and gathering more information and from all the employees. We'll conduct interviews. It's similar to right now with COVID, right? It's just at a much smaller scale. So you conduct case investigations and contact tracing. And so we ask a lot of questions to those that were potentially exposed, anyone that's symptomatic. We just gather a lot of information to really determine that source of transmission or contamination, or maybe the type of foodborne illness. And we also give them instructions on what to do, how to contain this outbreak. And so we may even collect food samples or provide sample kits for any symptomatic people. So once we've gathered all that information, we work with the epidemiologists in concluding our findings and really making sure that it doesn't spread, that we're trying to be sensitive also about the situation because this is someone's business, someone's livelihood, and we're there to help them out. We're not there to shut them down, but at the same time, we want to make sure that they're following the proper steps to prevent, to contain the outbreak. And so at the end, we also use we input our findings into NEHRS, the CDC's National Environmental Association, Assessment Reporting System. So we use that database.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot of players when it comes to food safety. I mean, you're coordinating with epidemiology, you're coordinating with the lab if you're collecting samples, and you're working with the retail industry. And it's great that you're putting information into NEHRS. I do that all the time because I work for NEHA, the National Environmental Assessment Reporting System. That's a really great system that we're using to track environmental assessments and what we're finding when we investigate these foodborne illness outbreaks. So thanks for bringing that up. We mentioned a little bit about retail food establishments and how you have to work with the industry, and we're big proponents of food safety is everybody's business, and it's so important to protect the food supply, whether you're a regulator, whether you're a consumer, or whether you're an industry person that's working in a restaurant or owns a restaurant. Can you tell me a little bit about how Contra Costa might work well with a retail food establishment? What kinds of things do you do to help support their food safety practices?
Yeah, so we support them in really, it's through a lot of that teaching, right, and outreach, and in having inspectors involved in that, not just a few. We really try to encourage everyone to participate in that. And that's where I think like I was saying, participating in teaching at the adult schools or providing food safety refresher classes, being available, making the facilities feel comfortable to contacting their inspector for any questions that they have. I think that's very important. And so when you establish that relationship with the facility, I think you really can accomplish a lot in making sure that they follow, are in compliance, and showing that you care about them as well. So I think that's probably the bigger parts. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, and I think you're 100% right. And I wanted to get kind of into a more inspirational question, because you mentioned, just letting them know that you're on their side, and you're working together, and this is about the public health, and it's about food safety, and it's really just about promoting food safety. And I'm wondering, on a personal level, what inspired you to work in food safety or work in environmental health?
Yeah. Well, just in general, growing up, I love the sciences and learning. So I'm naturally drawn to that large umbrella that falls under environmental health. And so I'm always learning something new. I love that. But really, it's also about the interaction and relationships that you build with the facilities and the community. I enjoy being involved in the community, and I'm passionate about sharing my knowledge to help others. And it's so rewarding. It's very, very, very rewarding when you have helped a new business get started. So you have some restaurant owners that it was their dream to open their own restaurant, right? And you're part of helping them become successful and fulfilling that dream. So that's always very inspiring to me. Yeah.
That's really nice to hear, and on our previous chat we talked about how food safety impacts the economy, and when we think about even if when COVID-19, and we're thinking about all the businesses that had to close and alter their business strategies, and really food is the livelihood of someone that has always dreamed of running their restaurant and running their grocery store. And it's really nice to be a part of that and impact them in a positive way. And I feel like this day really lets us kind of bring to light why we do what we do. And what we do in food safety just impacts so many people. And we get to touch the lives of so many. So I echo your sentiments, and I'm really pleased to hear you say that, because it's much more than a regulation or a law. It's really working together.
Yeah,
So
no, it is.
yeah. So Jessica, do you have any words to impart on our community that's doing food safety? I know that this past year has been just a real challenge, and we're all trying to adjust to the new normal. But any words of encouragement or what you see for the future?
Um, well, it's very true. Our facilities, the businesses are going through a very, very tough time. So it's like I said, really trying to build that relationship with them and understanding, because you don't want to go in there as a authoritative, like someone telling them everything they're doing wrong. Then they're working very, very hard. And so really showing that you care and building that relationship with them, I think, is very important and really gets you far. And it helps them accomplish, being better at and preventing foodborne illnesses, because I think that right now, we have no idea. There's been less inspections going on, so when we go out there, we really don't know what to expect. So I think that's probably the most important right now. Communicating and connecting with the facilities right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that, it seems like you all are doing a really great job of that with all the education and the outreach you provide. And, in today's World Food Safety Day, we've partnered with Environmental Health Australia, and we're kind of pleased to bring everybody together to talk about food safety and to really highlight World Food Safety Day, because we've been challenged this past year. We really have, with everything that's been thrown at us, with the people having to change their business strategies, and environmental health specialists having to do all kinds of different things that they didn't have to do previously. So I commend the efforts of food safety professionals all over the globe for their efforts and using their their skills to impact food safety and impact public health. So I'm really pleased to hear some themes from this conversation about training and education and supporting and collaborating. So that's really nice to hear.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for allowing me to be part of this event. Very exciting.
Yeah, this has been great. And so we're nearing the end of our time, and I wanted to thank you, Jessica, for so much for sharing such great information with us and providing us a website where we can find some tools and resources that Contra Costa has put together. And we hope that that is useful to our viewers. And thank you all so much for your participation on this afternoon event. We look forward to seeing you again at 4:15 Eastern, right here on NEHA's Facebook page. So thank you all for joining us on World Food Safety Day, and we will see you in a few hours.
Thank you.